Hello. Let me turn this down a little bit. How's it going? Even more than that. There we go. Oh, thank you for the watch streak, Bean. No noise is gonna play. Because we're catching a very particular vibe today. But thank you so much for the 15 stream streak. Hi, Pon. Hello. This is the most calm and chill I'm ever going to be on stream. And that is by design. This is the vibe. This is it. Do we like it? Is it calming? Is this relaxing? You guys have been talking about my voice a lot. So hopefully this is a good stream for Sumi voice enjoyers. Yes, hello, welcome. Happy Thursday. So what we're gonna do, I have quite a few, by that I mean like 6 horror stories to read you guys today. Some of them are more classical, like short novel, classical like short novel type thing. I grabbed a couple of internet horror stories that I really like, and I even have a couple of horror comics that I'm going to read to you guys. I will be having the text on screen so that if you're like me and you like to read along when somebody's reading something to you, that is an option. If you just want to listen to the stream, enjoy the vibes while you do something else, that is also 100% an option. Trying to think if there's anything that I need to say before we get into everything. Yeah, oh, I have the thing pinned, but yeah, just anything that makes noise, redeem-wise, which turns out to be 95% of my redeems are off for this stream. Because if Eddie Bot made noise right now, it would be like so loud. It would be so loud. And I don't want to startle anybody. So you guys have a couple of redeems this time. If you guys do like this stream, maybe I will do some other ASMR type streams. Alex, hello, welcome back. We got a really chill vibe today. I'm gonna read some stories. Oh, I should say, thank you so much for 800 followers. We hit 800 yesterday. Very, very kind, thank you. We're getting close to the 1,000 mark. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate you guys being here, as always. Let's see. I don't know. It's not really a lot that I have to go over. And this will be kind of a short stream because talking softly for some reason is harder for me than yelling. So it's going to be a shorter stream, and I will take breaks to drink water and so on. Oh, I should say, tomorrow's stream is going to be changed. I forgot that the new season of Marvel Rivals starts tomorrow when I was making this schedule last week. So yeah, no, we're playing Marvel Rivals. I'm so excited, but I can't get too excited because that's not the vibe. I need to be calm and normal. So I'm not going to talk more about Marvel Rivals because it makes me start, like, vibrating. Does everything sound okay sound-wise? Because this is going to be all the sound during the stream. Me and my jazz brain tunes. This is it. If you want to hear me talk at normal volume, an hour after this stream ends, I'll be over at twitch.tv/digitalsoulspark playing Gunfire Reborn with Jazz and some friends. And I have no idea what the game is about. As always, someone just asked me to do something, and I was just excited to be included. So I said yes. Yeah, let's ask question of the day, and then we will get into some of the stories I have for you guys. So, since this is my first ASMR stream, do you guys listen to any ASMR? I do sometimes. I used to a lot more frequently, but I just don't as much anymore. But the kind that I listen to is like ear scratching. It's like really intense noises, apparently. I don't do like the personal attention ones or like someone doing your nails or brushing your hair. I'm like, yeah, stick like a little scratchy stick like right on the microphone and scratch it, and that's great for me. Apparently a lot of people don't like that. Yeah, I like a lot of scratch. I like wood tapping. Wood tapping I really like. But there's like 5 million different kinds of ASMR. And I will not judge anybody for what ASMR they listen to. Featuring women with sweet voices. Yeah, that's a lot of them. There's one girl I like on TikTok. I wish I could remember her name. She starts every video with, "Hey baby." I wish I remember. I like hers a lot. She does really good audio mixing. I also like it when people do like funny ASMR. That's still, still has ASMR stuff in it, but it's still kind of silly. Like that one where it's like a nun taking care of you on your sick bed and you die of plague at the end. Trying to laugh quietly. I think that's really funny. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and swap over. There won't be chat on this scene, just to make more room so the text is easier to read, but that doesn't mean I'm not reading chat. I may read messages aloud and respond to them. I will try not to do so in the middle of stories, so we have just like a clean recording of the story itself. Fair enough? Okay, let's get over there. Hello, welcome to the bar, but now everything's blurry. I'm gonna start with a collection of horror comics from an artist named E.M. Carroll. I love their work. I have a lot of favorites of theirs, but I just chose a short selection of 3 stories to show you guys. Let me just get it set up here real quick, because I have to kind of rescale everything. Let me, Let me see. That in here. 1 second. Thank you for your patience. I forgot to do this one the way I wanted to do it, and that's on me. Oh, I don't think I have my hotkey set up. That's on me. What did that? I had this set up correctly and then I just don't. Apologies. Second, I have to do. Oh, it didn't put them in the right order. Fantastic. I love that. I do it this way. Sorry. Fix it this way. Oh, I can. Incredible. Alright. Let me get this in the right spot. Okay, so the first E.M. Carroll comic I'm going to be reading for you guys is called A Lady's Hands Are Cold. It is a comic from, I believe it's called Through the Woods, an anthology collection from E.M. Carroll. I got this for a Christmas gift years and years ago, and I love this anthology. And I also did a reading of this for an audio class that I did once, and it got a good reception. So I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Let me just make sure everything's good before I swap things over. Alright. There. Oh, and let me center this out. Alright. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Here we go. Alright. Oh. There was a girl, and there was a man, and there was the girl's father, who said, "You will marry this man." So she traveled a low, lonely road and arrived at a wide, white manor. The halls of her new home were tall and cold, papered with stiff stripes, while her own room was flush with flowers. Handmaids wove flowers into her hair as well, and dressed her in fine blue silks with a scarlet ribbon at her throat, and she dined with her groom at a long white table. Oh, and on pages like this where it is all just visuals, I'll just be quiet for a few seconds so that people who would like to just look can look. That night, she was awoken by a soft, sad song. I married my love in the springtime, but by summer he'd locked me away. He'd murdered me dead by the autumn, and by winter I was naught but decay. It's cold where I am, and so lonely, but in loneliness I will remain, unloved, unavenged, and forgotten, until I am whole once again. The next day, her handmaids dressed her in velvety reds, draped in golds and trimmed with pearls, and she spent the afternoon in the garden. "Was that singing I heard last night?" she asked as she was being prepared for dinner. "I'm afraid I do not know," replied the handmaid, whose hands shook as she combed her hair. "Perhaps it was nothing but a dream." But that night, it came from the floor. "I married my love in the springtime, but by summer he'd locked me away. He'd murdered me dead by the autumn, and by winter I was naught but decay." Each night it bled through the halls of her new home, a low keening that swept from floors, walls, stairs, ceiling, from the house's very bones. And then it settled into her bones. Every night, that song, that wail, until the girl's insides were clotted with cold heartache. Then one day, her husband went out on a hunt. He left her with a kiss on the cheek and a necklace that choked her with a deep red ruby. She went back inside. She dismissed her handmaids. She picked up a hatchet. Inside the wall was a pair of hands. They were cold and felt so fragile. She made a cradle of her skirts and placed the hands within. She found a leg in the hallway floor and 2 arms linked at the elbows beneath a portrait. One foot was lost under a chest of drawers, and its opposite was discovered within a closet. A torso, wrapped in a stained gray gown, lined the bottom of the stairs, and after much digging, another leg was discovered between 2 dusty columns. The last thing she found was a head. It had white eyes and gray hair, and lips as thin as paper, which sang, "I married my love in the springtime, but by summer he'd locked me away. He'd murdered me dead by the autumn, and by winter I was naught but decay. It's cold where I am and so lonely, but in loneliness I will remain, unloved, unavenged, and forgotten, until I am whole once again." She brought every piece to her husband's room, then arranged the limbs on the floor, bound together with red ribbon. "Your hands are so warm, and your soft skin so fair. Did you know, little one, that is my necklace you wear, and my bed that you sleep in, my mansion, my lands? I gave my love everything, and he cut off my hands. Do you think he loves you now? Think you've usurped my role? When I've torn you to pieces, girl, then I'll be whole." She ran down the dark hallways, out of the wide white manor, through the rich red garden, past her husband returning from his hunt. She ran, though nothing chased her but his screams, which howled at her heels all the way down the low, lonely road. There was a girl, and there was a man, and there was a lady with cold hands. That's the end of that one. Let me drink some water and get the next one set up. It will also be an EM Carol piece. Just full screen it here. Yes. All right. This one might be a little bit harder to read. Actually, I can skip this. Thank you for your patience while I tweak with it. There we go. So now you'll be able to see all the art better. I really like the art in this one. Go. Oh. This one is called Out of Skin. It was the rain. I didn't find them until the rain chewed up the earth, churned it into mud, and the floor of the forest spit them out. So yes, that must be right. It wasn't until the morning after the storm I saw them. Trying to scroll slowly here. This is all just one big panel. There were half a dozen of them, maybe more. A heap of wet skin and decaying cloth, crowded inside a dark pit I'd never seen before. My first thought was, who could have done this? My mother, my father, my cousin? All as dead as the graying girls in the mud, long dead. And I live alone in the middle of the forest in a tiny cottage that no one visits. It was dusk by the time I finished filling up the pit. God forgive me. I slept, wretched, damp, and dirty, while through my window the moon shone clean and white as a skull. It rained again that night, almost too loud to sleep. But I did sleep, and when I woke, there was something growing from that pit. A tree, but its surface didn't feel like bark. It felt like... And that was before I noticed its leaves. There were hands, thin as parchment, the hands of those graying girls, reaching. I gave up after the first cut. The work was just too gruesome. That next night was still. No storm, no rain, no sleep. Just the sounds of those graying girls outside my window. Please open the door. We know you're there. Let us in. We can hear you. Open the door. Did they pull themselves up from the muck? The door. We can see you. Open it. Or did they drop from the branches of that terrible tree? I don't care. I still don't. Their voices. The door. Let us in. I imagine it's what the women from the nearby towns sound like. Lilting, delicate, a little cruel. It must be where he brought them in from. We'll find a way in. It continued all night. Eventually, I couldn't tell the voices apart from the crackle of the fire or the wind in the trees outside. Within a day, I stopped hearing the girls at my window. I stopped seeing them milling about outside, though that ghoulish tree remained. I thought, so foolish, I thought that they were actually gone. But then it started. At first, out of the corner of my eye. I told myself that it was all in my mind, a trick of the light. But I knew. I slept, and when I woke, they were everywhere. But what could I do? I couldn't leave. The wood loomed so dark, its trees like hungry hands, their bony branches creaking like the wheels of a distant cart. And so I drank out of their skin, I ate out of their breasts, and I fell asleep inside their mouth with spools of hair for my pillow. I am a good person. I work hard. When my mother died, I took care of my father. When my father died, I looked after my cousin. When my cousin died, I was alone. I never complained. They say this wood breeds strange things. But I live here, and I am not strange. I am a good person, a good woman. So foolish, laughs the meat of my house. So foolish. He finally showed up today, just before the sunset. I heard the wheeze of his cart's wheels from a long, long way off. My face was cold, my throat was dry, my eyes were hot. A very fine evening to you. What would he think of my house? I was worried I wouldn't make it before dark. It had begun to smell. Just in time, eh? Stinking like soggy flesh, old blood. Are you cooking? I'm famished. But he didn't seem to notice at all. He actually ate. He began speaking of his most recent travels, what wares sold best where. I felt ill. Then it was local town gossip, just like always. His health, the weather, new stock. I told him I knew about the girls. He feigned ignorance. I said, girls from town, I've seen them. I know what you did. I said for him not to worry, that it was all taken care of. I buried them. Were there more in his cart, I wondered. He didn't stay to kiss my throat this time. He became very pale and said he had to leave. And as he pulled away, their skin began to peel with him. I can feel today will be the last day I see him. But when I think of him from now on, it will be him looking out from all that skin. The end. I like that one. That one's very fun. Okay, one last E.M. Carroll story, and then we'll move on to a more, something less contemporary. Let's go. Where is it? This is probably E.M. Carroll's most popular story. Let me just make sure that this is formatted properly. This is the story that I discovered E.M. Carroll through. Let me as well. This story is called His Face All Red. Overlapping too badly. Alright. Okay. There we go. This man is not my brother. My brother has a cottage with a hawthorn tree and a lilac bush and a plump young wife with starry eyes. My brother has a fine coat, a vest the color of moss, and a way with people that makes them trust him. This man has all these things, and my brother's face, his handsome face. But just last week, I killed my brother. For a month, our village had been plagued by an unknown beast. It killed livestock, wrecked fences, came from the woods. Most strange things do. My brother lost 3 sheep that in one night. I was safe. I have no animals. At the town hall, when I offered to hunt the beast, everyone laughed until my brother said, "We'll hunt it together." The woods were cold, quiet, dark. We passed a tree with leaves that looked like ladies' hands, a common oak, and a stream that sounded like dogs growling, a babbling brook, and a hole deep, full of black, that smelled of lilac. How curious. Then we found the beast. I hid. When I crawled from my hiding place and found my brother, he had already slayed it. "Just a wolf," he laughed. It was only ever a wolf. And then we both laughed at how I had hidden and how grateful the villagers would be to him. Let me drink some water. For people listening and not watching, he killed his brother and put him in that strange hole that smells like lilac. I brought a scrap of cloth I'd torn from his coat. We were separated. The beast must have destroyed him. This was the only trace I found. But I killed the monster. I avenged my brother. And even his starry-eyed wife held on to me and wept. That night, I feared another attack, but none came. Instead, people thanked me, even as they consoled me. I was given my brother's animals, and I slept, dreaming of nothing. But 3 days later, my brother came from the woods. Most strange things do. The joy on all their faces. But it couldn't be him. couldn't be. I can't believe I got so lost. Me living beside those woods all my life. Thank God for my brother. Thank God he killed that devil. And I was the only one who noticed. His fine coat, it wasn't torn. I can no longer sleep. I have dreams. His legs limp, his face all red, and twice I have woken and seen my brother digging. Is this guilt? Or is this my brother, whole and not a double? And if so, why won't he turn to look at me? Like, poor people just listening. He goes back to the hole and climbs down. And his brother's body is there. And it turns to look at him. The end. Hello, Gray. You will get an ASMR, Ara. Thank you. 1 second. I'll take this down. Oh my gosh, if I can find it. Here we go. Don't know why my head just did that. First RR on the stream for a minute. Ara. Thank you for the redeem. Let me move. So those are all the comics that I have for you guys today. Perfect. Okay. We are going to do a more classical horror piece next. And then I will take a short break. And then we'll do a couple more. I'll only be streaming for 2 hours today because I do have my other stream going on as well. But I'm going to read to you. If I can get this to go dark mode. You know what? Let me do it like this. This is very bright and I don't want to hurt your guys' eyes. I'm going to put it in a different document really quick. One that I have a dark mode on, so you guys won't be flashbanged. Nope, not there. Let me make this bigger so it's easier to read. And resize my window. Okay. There we go. Alright, so I don't think I could do a scary story stream without reading you guys a little bit of Poe. And I had to choose one. So I chose Mask of Red Death because this one is one of my favorites. And also, when I was very young, one of the first things I ever, one of the things that made me want to be a teacher was me reading this and explaining it to a classroom full of my peers. So I have a very big soft spot for it. All right, one big drink of water, and then we will get into it. Alrighty. The Mask of Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe. Oh, I hit my mic. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal, the redness and the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding at the pores with dissolution. The scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest ban which shut him out from the aid and from the sympathy of his fellow men. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court, and with these retired to the deep seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it in. His wall had gates of iron. The couriers, having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers and welded the bolts. They resolved to leave means neither of ingress or egress to the sudden impulses of despair from without or of frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned. With such precautions, the courier might bid defiance to contagion. I can read, I promise. The general world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve or to think. The prince had provided all appliances of pleasure. There were buffoons. There were I always mess up this word. Improvisatori, because Prospero's Italian. There were buffoons, there were improvisatori, there were ballet dancers, there were musicians, there were cards, there was beauty, there was wine. All these and security were within, without the Red Death. It was toward the close of the 5th or 6th month of this seclusion, and while the pestilence raged most furiously abroad, that the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual magnificence. It was a voluptuous scene, that masquerade. But first, let me tell you of the rooms in which it was held. There were 7, an imperial suite. In many palaces, however, such suites form a long and straight vista, while the folding doors slide back nearly to the walls on either hand, so that the view of the whole extent is scarcely impeded. Here, the case was very different, as might have been expected from the Duke's love of the bizarre. The apartments were so irregular. Oh my god. Figured this one was going to stumble me up a little bit. The apartments were so irregularly disposed that the vision embraced but little more than one at a time. There was a sharp turn at every 20 or 30 yards, and at each turn a novel effect. To the right and left, in the middle of each wall, a tall and narrow Gothic window looked out upon a closed corridor which perused the windings of the suite. These windows were of stained glass, whose colors varied in accordance with the prevailing hue of the decorations of the chamber into which it opened. That at the eastern extremity was hung, for example, in blue, a vividly blue, were its windows. The second chamber was purple in its ornaments and tapestries, and here the panes were purple. The third was green throughout, and so were the casements. The fourth was furnished and litten with orange, the fifth with white, the sixth with violet. The seventh apartment was closely shrouded in black velvet tapestries that hung all over the ceiling and down the walls, falling in heavy folds upon a carpet of the same material and hue. But in this chamber only, the color of the windows failed to correspond with the decorations. The panes here were scarlet, a deep blood color. Let me scroll up just a little bit. Now, in no one of the 7 apartments was there any lamp or candelabrum amid the profusion of gold ornaments that lay scattered to and fro or depend from the roof. There was no light of any kind emanating from lamp or candle within the suite of chambers. But in the corridors that followed the suite, there stood, opposite each window, a heavy tripod bearing a brazier of fire that projected its rays through the tinted glass and so glaringly illuminated the room, and thus were produced a multitude of gaudy and fantastic appearances. But in the western, or black, chamber, the effect of the firelight that streamed upon the dark hangings through the blood-tinted panes was ghastly in the extreme, and produced so wild a look upon the countenances of those who entered that there were few of the company bold enough to set foot within its precincts at all. It was in this apartment, also, that there stood against the western wall a gigantic clock of ebony. Its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang, and when its minute hand made the circuit of the face, and the hour was to be stricken, there came forth from the brazen lungs of the clock a sound which was clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar a note and emphasis that, at each lapse of an hour, the musicians in the orchestra were constrained to pause momentarily in their performance to hearken to the sound, and thus the waltzers perforce ceased their evolutions, and there was a brief disconcert of the whole gay company. And while the chimes of the clock yet rang, it was observed that the giddiness grew pale, and that the more aged and sedate passed their hands over their brows as if in confused reverie or meditation. And when the echoes had fully ceased, a light laughter at once pervaded the assembly. The musicians looked at each other and smiled, as if at their own nervousness and folly, and made whispering vows, each to the other, that the next chiming of the clock would produce them no similar emotion. And then, under the lapse of 60 minutes, which embrace 3,600 seconds of the time that flies, there came yet another chiming of the clock, and then there were the same disconcert and tremulousness and meditation as before. But in spite of these things, it was a gay and magnificent revel. The tastes of the Duke were peculiar. He had a fine eye for colors and effects. He disregarded the decora of mere fashion. His plans were bold and fiery, and his conceptions glowed with barbaric luster. There are some who would say, I swear that I can read. My apologies. Let me drink some water and collect myself. There are some who would have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was necessary to hear and see and touch him to be sure that he was not. He had directed, in great part, the movable embellishments of the 7 chambers upon occasion of this great fete, and it was his own guiding taste which had given character to the costumes of the masqueraders. Be sure they were grotesque. There were much glare and glitter, and piquancy and phantasm, much of what has since been seen in Hernani. There were arabesque figures with unsuited limbs and appointments. There were delirious fancies, such as the madman fashions. There was much of the beautiful, much of the wanton, much of the bizarre, something of the terrible, and not a little of that which might have excited disgust. To and fro in these 7 chambers there stalked, in fact, a multitude of dreams, and these, the dreams, writhed in and out, taking hue from the rooms, and causing the wild music of the orchestra to seem as the echo of their steps. And anon there strikes the ebony clock which stands in the hall of velvet, and then, momentarily, all is still, and all is silent, save the voice of the clock. The dreams are stiff frozen as they stand, but the echoes of the chime die away. They have endured but an instant, and a light, half-subdued laughter floats after them as they depart. And now again the music swells, and the dreams live and writhe to and fro more merrily than ever, taking hue from the many-tinted windows through which stream the rays from the tripods. But to the chamber which lies most westwardly of the 7, there are now none of the maskers who venture. For the night is waning away, for the night is waning away, and there flows a ruddier light through the colored panes, and the blackness of the sable drapery appalls. And to him whose foot falls upon the sable carpet, there comes from the near clock of ebony a muffled peal more solemnly emphatic than any which reaches their ears, who indulge in the more remote gaieties of the other apartments. But these other apartments were densely crowded, and in them beat feverishly the heart of life, and the revel went whirringly on, until at length was sounded the 12th hour upon the clock, and then the music ceased, as I have told, and the evolutions of the waltzers were quieted, and there was an uneasy cessation of all things as before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sounded by the bell of the clock, and thus it happened, perhaps, that more of thought crept, with more of time, into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who revelled, and thus again it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk into silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of a masked figure which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. And the rumor of this new presence, having spread itself whisperingly around, there arose at length from the whole company a buzz or murmur, expressive at first of disapprobation and surprise, then finally of terror, of horror, and of disgust. Oop, scroll too far, go back up. Oh, there we go. In an assembly of phantasms as such I have painted, it may well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade license of the night was nearly unlimited, but the figure in question had out-Heroded Herod, and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's indefinite decorum. There are chords in the hearts of the most reckless, which cannot be touched without emotion. Even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equally jests, there are matters of which no jest can be properly made. The whole company, indeed, seemed now deeply to feel that in costume and bearing of the stranger neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask which concealed the visage was made so clearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet, all this might have been endured, if not approved, by the mad revelers around. But the murmur had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood, and his broad brow, with all the features of the face, was besprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of the Prince Prospero fell upon this spectral image, which, with a slow and solemn movement, as if more fully to sustain its role, stalked to and fro among the waltzers, he was seen to be convulsed, in the first moment, with a strong shudder either of terror or distaste, but in the next, his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares," he demanded hoarsely of the group that stood around him, "who dares thus to make mockery of our woes? Uncase the varlet, that we may know whom we have to hang tomorrow at sunrise from the battlements. Will no one stir at my bidding? Stop him and strip him, I say, of those reddened vestures of sacrilege." It was in the eastern or blue chamber in which stood the Prince Prospero as he uttered these words. They rang throughout the 7 rooms loudly and clearly, for the prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become hushed at the waving of his hand. It was in the blue room where stood the prince, with a group of pale courtiers by his side. At first, as he spoke, there was a slight rushing movement of this group in the direction of the intruder, who at the moment was also near at hand, and now, with deliberate and stately step, made closer approach to the speaker. But from a certain nameless awe with which the mad assumptions of the mummer had inspired the whole party, there were found none who put forth a hand to seize him, so that, unimpeded, he passed within a yard of the prince's person. And while the vast assembly, as if with one impulse, shrank from the centers of the rooms to the walls, he made his way uninterruptedly, but with the same solemn and measured step which had distinguished him from the first, through the blue chamber to the purple, through the purple to the green, through the green to the orange, through this again to the white, and even thence to the violet, ere a decided movement had been made to arrest him. It was then, however, that the Prince Prospero, maddening with rage and the shame of his own momentary cowardice, rushed hurriedly through the 6 chambers, while none followed him on account of the deadly terror that had seized upon all. Scroll up a little bit. He bore aloft a drawn dagger and had approached in rapid impetuosity to within 3 or 4 feet of the retreating figure, when the latter, having attained the extremity of the velvet apartment, turned suddenly round and confronted his pursuer. There was a sharp cry, and the dagger dropped, gleaming upon the sable carpet, upon which instantly afterwards fell prostrate in death the Prince Prospero. Then, summoning the wild courage of despair, a throng of revelers at once threw themselves into the black apartment, and, seizing the mummer, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in unutterable horror at finding the grave cerements and corpse-like mass with which they handled with so violent a rudeness, untenanted by any tangible form. And now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died each in the despairing posture of his fall. And the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and the darkness and decay and the red death held illimitable dominion over all. The end of that one. Okay, we're about an hour into this 2-hour stream. I do have a few stories remaining here for you, and I'm just going to take a quick break to rest my voice for just a moment. So please go get yourself a snack, go get yourself a nice drink so you continue to enjoy these chilled out vibes, and I'll see you guys back here in 5 minutes. sure that none of you have probably heard before. It is from a fairly unknown online horror project called the Hypnagogic Archive. I think it is a very, very cool project. It is all done on an external website. There we go. Oh, cool. Forgot that studio mode will do that. Let me go ahead and this just a little bit. Whoop. Now why is that a timer now? That's rude. Don't know why that changed like that. Yes, this is a story from a series called the Hypnagogic Archive, which is a online horror series that is just a ton of different short stories on a GeoCities style website. The website claims to be collecting these stories and archiving them to preserve them in some way. This is one of my favorites from that. There is another one that I also enjoy a lot that has a lot of other stories that you need to read for context, but this one you can enjoy as is. So this is a series of emails that is titled under the Hypnagogic Archive as Heron Observations. Also, if you want to look up the Hypnagogic Archive, I always mess up how to spell this. Hypnagogic Archive. There we go. This is the heron in the picture right here. This is the heron. But yes, if you want to look up this website, I do believe it's just hypnagogicarchive.geocities. Be aware that it is formatted like an early 2000s GeoCities site, which means it hurts to look at. The background is an eye-straining blue. All of the text is an eye-straining yellow, which is why I have copied and pasted it here to once again save your eyes. You are all welcome. Yes, I hope you enjoy this story. I love this one. Yes, Heron Observations. Originally posted to the Petomele Museum Night Shift Local Network, January 15th, 1988. Friday, January 15th. Hi, everyone. 1 second, let me fix my mic. Sorry, it was in a bad spot. January 15th. Hi, everyone. My name is Deborah. I'll be taking care of the wildlife collection on the 3rd floor after hours. As you all know, you had an incident last month involving some looters, and I aim to keep the collection safe. I came here from UFL. I've given you my background, and I can easily hold my own in any confrontation. That said, I'd like to get to know you. Tell me about yourselves when you see me at next week's conference. I won't be around as much as the rest of you, but I will try and drop by every so often to see how things are going. Mostly, I'll be going through your security system and catching any potential flaws or bugs that could leave you vulnerable. That said, I am looking forward to spending the night here. Your collection is invaluable to wildlife researchers across the state and the country, and having spent last night touring the grounds, I'm in admiration and a bit of shock as to how well your specimens are preserved. They're very lifelike. Your taxidermist did an excellent job. The hall has 3 entrances, which makes it susceptible to thieves. I won't give you any formal suggestions yet, but I would suggest taking that into consideration. I would also suggest investing in some closed-circuit television cameras, CCTV. They are somewhat expensive, but I studied them in forensic sciences, and they work as advertised. If and when you do install them, have Marquez on the 4th floor to watch them, and keep any pertinent tapes for at least 30 days before wiping them. While this is my first assignment, I take my duty seriously, and hope that while I'm with you, I prove. Let me take that again. Apologies. Water. I'm trying so hard not to cough into my mic. While this is my first assignment, I take my duty seriously, and hope that while I'm with you, I prove my full potential. The courses I took have made me a more well-rounded person than I was when I entered. I was lucky to get a scholarship and graduate, even given my condition. However, I have been vetted by numerous psychiatrists, including those at UFL, who have declared me stable and operational. That was 4 years ago, and while you may have read about my breakdown in the news, I have improved by leaps and bounds since then. You won't regret your decision. Deborah. Hi, Deb. This is Harry. We appreciate you stopping by We appreciate you stopping by in our local network to keep us up to date. We would expect nothing less. It looks as if you are also tech-savvy, more than most of us on the board, which is good if you plan on installing any new software. Keep in mind that any messages sent on this network will remain strictly confidential and private. Other than that, the doors will close tomorrow at 8 p.m., and your shift will begin at 8:05 p.m. once we've left. As for your condition, me and the rest of the board couldn't agree more. You're a bright young woman with a promising future, and from our interview, it's clear that whatever was troubling you in the past is long gone. We look forward to working with you and knowing that our collection is safe in your hands. Harry. Saturday, January 16th. I arrived on the premises at 8:05 p.m. as instructed, said goodbye to the staff as they exited. By 8:06, I was upstairs and sitting on a bench in the hall. I understand your need to conserve power, hence why all the lights are off except the ones in the display cases. However, I found it hard to navigate the room without the lights. Tomorrow I might invest in some night vision equipment. I have a cousin who specializes in military equipment and could supply me with some night vision goggles for a low price. This is a minor complaint, however, and for the most of my shift, I was able to see with the help of the display cases and my flashlight. As I noted in yesterday's entry, the hall is strategically and tactically vulnerable. There are no doors on any of the 3 entrances, meaning that if a thief is able to enter the museum without tripping the alarm on the 1st floor, they can go upstairs and enter the wildlife section without any further obstacles. I would suggest outfitting all 3 entrances with steel locks, and if that's too expensive, or you prefer a more open design, outfit the entrances on either side with locks, and keep the door facing the main visitor area open. That way, if a thief enters, he'll have a harder time finding an escape route. With only 1 door available, response time is maximized. I ask that the board consider this. All night, I was apprehensively watching all the entrances at once. This is a waste of time and resources. I hope you understand. The night was mostly uneventful and consisted of routine walks, save one incident at 1:54 a.m. I found that a specimen of yours, a great blue heron, had tipped on its side. I had a screwdriver on hand, so I opened the case and propped it back up. Whether this is due to negligence on your part, or some sort of vandalism, I can't say, though it's certainly puzzling. Why thieves would bother putting a bird on its side and then leave it, moreover screwing the front of the case back on, is baffling, to say the least. Please get back to me on this. Thanks. Above all else, tonight was good, and it passed slowly, but serenely. The hall is very nice. It's kept up to date, and the floor is free of debris. I think this job is the right one for me. I like being alone with my own thoughts late at night. This position offers me the perfect opportunity to do just that and help out my local community. That's all currently. Deborah. Hi, Deb. This is Marquez on the 3rd floor. Wow, I messed that up so badly. Ooh, why did it do that? Why did it do that? Hi, Deb. This is Marquez on the 4th floor. I saw you at your interview, and you're great. You have a nice personality. Maybe we could get a drink sometime. When you're available, of course. I envy you, because the wildlife collection is the pride of our facility, and I'm stuck here watching the rock exhibit. And sure, rocks are nice and all, but until you were hired, I took care of the 3rd and 4th floors, while Neil took care of the 1st and 2nd floors. I guess it makes more sense to split the floors up, because when the looting happened, I was up on the 4th floor. I never really went down to the hall anyway. I'm glad I wasn't fired, but seeing the broken glass everywhere and the seal gone really upset me. I felt like it was my fault, that if I had been down there, I could have caught the guys before they got out. Now they'll probably dress the seal up in stupid clothes or something. Anyway, I felt like an idiot. Just thought I would stop by to say hi, mostly. The thing you mentioned about the heron being tipped onto its side is weird. Negligence wouldn't do that, because I talked with our taxidermist, and he always bolts the specimens onto their stands to keep them in the correct position. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I'm still getting used to this network. It's pretty impressive. Marquez. Deborah, I'm afraid I concur with Marquez. The heron is likely an indication of foul play. I spoke with the taxidermist, and he confirmed that what you described is virtually impossible without human intervention. They noticed... Oh, I read 2 lines at the same time. They probably tipped the heron over before you arrived, and none of our guests noticed. Tomorrow is Sunday, which means that the thieves will likely strike. There will be less people around, and due to the oncoming storm, more cover for the group to use to their advantage. We need you on site early tomorrow, say noon, and stay until the morning when we open. This could be very dangerous, and the thieves could be armed, so remain on alert. And if you're injured, there's a med kit in the faculty room, which you can use until the paramedics arrive. If you see any suspicious activity, be sure to alert Neil downstairs. He'll probably be hanging out by the gift shop. If the thieves try and escape, he's our only other failsafe. We are hoping, however, that during this you can prove yourself and capture them on your own. Also, we like the idea about getting locks. We're currently looking into options, though we're a bit strapped for cash, so it might be a while until we can install locks or CCTV cameras. Donations this time of year are slow. Good luck. Hopefully nothing happens. Harry. Sunday, January 17th. The storm broke once I got to the museum. It was pouring when I got to the doors. I said hello to Neil at roughly 11:50 and went upstairs to the hall, then sat down at my bench. It's the one right in the middle of the exhibit where the 3 rooms meet, so it's ideal for catching any activity. I sat there for most of the day, getting up every so often to stretch and catch my breath, all the while keeping an eye out. The rain was very loud. It could have distracted me. Once you have cameras and doors installed, you might want to get some soundproofing. Not only would it make it easier for me to concentrate, but it would also ensure a more pleasant tour for your guests. I know my suggestions might be getting somewhat expensive here, but when you run a museum, things can get pretty expensive. I brought a sandwich with me, and at 6 p.m., I went down to the 2nd floor to get a drink from the soda machine. Neil was nowhere in sight. The lights in the meeting room and faculty room were both off. At this point, the sun was setting outside. Not that there was much sun to begin with, what with the storm. So the museum got darker, and I navigated my way back upstairs with my flashlight. By this point, it was 6:10 p.m. When I got back to the hall, there was no indication that anyone had entered or exited. No footprints, which would still be visible if someone had come in from the rain. They would have left mud. I searched the premises thoroughly with my flashlight, but found nothing. At this point, I was about to resume my position until I noticed the heron's case was empty. The pane had been screwed back on, and the stand was still in the case, though some feathers and a portion of the heron's lower rib cage remained bolted down. I regained my composure and hoped that the thief hadn't exited yet. I quickly aimed my flashlight in all possible directions. What happened next is something I can't explain. I noticed the heron standing upright in the middle of the hallway, directly in front of the entrance on the left. I believed the thieves were playing games with me, so I approached the heron before they could take it. Call it a trick of the light or a trick of the mind. The heron actually looked up at me and opened its beak. This dead thing, covered in feathers and embalmer's glue and formaldehyde and who knows what else, moved its head of its own volition and opened its beak. Then it stood completely still, and I was pointing my flashlight at it. I touched it, and it was an inanimate object again. But so help me, I saw it move. I saw its teeth and its glazed stare, and it was absolutely horrifying. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. After that, I picked it up and put it back in its case where it belongs. I don't like looking at it anymore, but provided it wasn't stolen and nobody came in for the remainder of the night, I'm at least happy I didn't get shot. I guess maybe I would have been happier if I had been shot. This thing is horrible, and it looked up at me and opened its beak. I know this sounds crazy, but that's exactly what happened. I'm typing this, and I know it sounds crazy. If you don't want to believe me, then scratch that from the record. But that is my record of events. The night I spent alone in the museum with that thing in its case was an ordeal. I was happy to get out when the sun came up and the clouds dissipated. I like this job, I really do, and I'm glad I was able to keep your animals safe, but I may need a day off. That's about it for now. Probably imagine the whole thing. Being alone for extended periods of time can do that to a person. I read about it. Deborah. Neil here. I can confirm that around 6 last night I heard the soda machine. I was about to go up there and check it out, but then I looked over the rails and saw it was Deborah, so I relaxed and went back inside the gift shop. Harry, we are out of coloring books again. Be sure to call supply and have them restock. As for the heron, I can't vouch for that. At 6:10 I was using the restroom. It all sounds pretty crazy, but if we're going with a logical progression of events, here's my guess. Here my guess would be that the thieves had opened the case and removed the heron while Deb was at the machine. Then they heard her coming back and dropped the heron on the floor, where Deb found it. And I didn't notice them leaving because, like I said, I was in the restroom during the period of time where they would be running out. I checked the front door and it was locked, but they could have fixed it to look that way. Otherwise, we'd go with Deb's version of events, where the heron magically unscrews the case from the inside, screws the case back on with its magical feathers, walks out for no reason other than to scare her, and then turns back into an inanimate object. I respect you, Deb, but I can't in good conscience put that down in the record as the way things happened. I wasn't there, of course, but that's impossible. Maybe, like you said, it was a trick of the light, or something similar. After all you had was a flashlight, and I've been up there a couple of times after hours, too. It's hard to see things. That's how I figure it. Typical break-in. Thieves were scared, so they left without the goods. Maybe it was the same the first time when Deb found it on its side. Normal vandalism. Hope you're doing okay, Deb. Maybe try yoga or something. Anxiety is a normal part of the job. I get the creeps sometimes when it's late and the shadows play tricks on my head. Whole museum turns into a goddamn sideshow. You'll learn to cope with time. Neil. I find it unlikely that they had taken the heron, I find it unlikely that if they had taken the heron, they would bother unscrewing the front of the case back on, especially since they could have just broken the case and gotten out while Neil was distracted and Deb was coming up with her drink. Something isn't right here. I'm not saying your version of events is wrong, necessarily, Neil, but it's a little reductive, and you're being a little dismissive of Deb's eyewitness testimony. I trust her, and she has a good head on her shoulders. Marquez. Hey, just so we're on the same page, a member of the board went and bought a CCTV system today. It'll be installed by the time you three get there. It switches up regularly, and we'll be running them while the museum is open, and see if we can spot any suspicious activity. Whoever took the heron has clearly been scoping out the rooms and making detailed plans to be able to run past Deb and Neil. So we're going to run the system during opening hours and scan the crowds. Marquez, you won't be on the 4th floor. You'll be in my office. The screens are hooked up there. Good luck. Deb, I can't believe you when you say the heron looked at you. Dead animals don't do that. Not going to mention that in my report to law enforcement. Just going to mention that there's been some suspicious activity, no looting. Are you sure that you're able to handle your shift tonight? Is this getting too stressful for you? If you want, I can offer you an absence. Heck, maybe even a paid leave. If there's anything you want, don't hesitate to let me know. We all get overworked sometimes. Harry. Hello, Viku. Just popping in to say hi. Hope you have a great stream. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you. No, but thanks for the offer. I'll be there tonight. Deborah. Monday, January 18th. Up here in the control room. You did a good job, Harry. We have live feeds of the gift shop, the wildlife hall, the rock exhibit, and the staff rooms, plus some hallways. Wow, if you got more of this, it could practically replace my job and I wouldn't have to walk around anymore. It's amazing. Like Deb instructed, I'm going to keep the tapes for 30 days before wiping them with new footage. Comb over every recording for anything important. And every 120 minutes, I put a new tape in. The museum is packed today. It's like, where's Waldo in here? Any of you know that one? My niece is really into it. Anyway, there are a few guys who go around the wildlife hall, look around. They look kind of shifty, but I don't think they're up to much. And it also doesn't seem like they're working in tandem, which is what we would expect. Multiple guys, one to open the case, one to steal the bird. There's also a lady leaning against a wall on the 2nd floor and looking side to side. Looks kind of guilty, but she's just sightseeing probably. Hard to tell with all these crowds moving around. We'll keep you posted if I notice anything else. Marquez. Taking a few minutes off to write this in the faculty room. Deb called me up a while back to look for something. Once again, she seems on edge. It's not as rainy tonight, but it's not exactly the most peaceful conditions outside. And in addition to that, I'm starting to believe her. She's still on duty, and didn't want to come down here to type this, so I've taken it upon myself to set the record straight. When you come in tomorrow, Harry, open up the shop. You're going to notice the heron case is broken. Broken glass all over, with the heron still inside. I don't think she did it. She assures me she didn't, but I've also scoured the grounds to look for intruders, and there are none. And to make matters worse, the front door is as locked as ever. Take some real lock-picking skills to re-lock a door in 5 seconds. I'm supposed to be watching things downstairs, so I can't explain everything right now, but I assume Deborah will be on here later to explain. And she can probably explain it better than I can. I don't know what's going on, and I really don't want to know at this point. Neil. Neil, are you still here? If you are, and you can see this, please call me so we can talk privately. I'm at home, and I have questions. Harry. Hang on, guys. I saw what happened. I've been up here in Harry's office this whole time, and I saw what happened. I know things are falling apart, so if you'd let me explain for the record, this is what the tapes show. At 11:23 p.m., Deborah is sitting on her bench in the middle of the hall. At this point, she hears a noise or something in the direction of the heron, so she goes to check it out. We don't have a camera installed over the heron's cage, unfortunately. All we have is the one over the middle of the exhibit. But even so, it has a pretty wide range. So she comes back a little later, at about 11:30. She's kind of staggering forward, as if she's injured, but there's no blood. She goes to the main entrance, I assume to call Neil up, and then they both walk back in and go toward the heron. Then they start fighting, and he walks out. Right now, at 11:34 p.m., she's sitting on the bench in there, not moving. Like I said, I didn't see any blood, but I could be wrong. Could be in shock. Whatever she saw was serious. I may have missed something on here because I've got to hurry and see if she's okay. We'll report back in a little. And Harry, you can play the tape back if you don't believe me. That's exactly how it happened. Marquez. Hello. I feel like I owe everyone an apology. Marquez talked to me for a while to make sure everything was okay and walked me down to the faculty room to write this. Set your mind at ease. Harry, I don't know if I can do this. What happened here tonight has got us all scared out of our minds. Neil is back in the corner, being Neil, looking out the door every so often. We seem safe. There isn't anybody outside. This is what happened. I don't know if you'll believe me, Harry, but this is how it happened. If you're at home, mix yourself a drink, because what I'm about to say, you'll need it. I got here at 8 p.m. and walked up to... Let me readjust. I got here at 8 p.m. and walked up to the exhibit, saying hi to Neil as I came in. He was apprehensive, but I told him I would be fine. This time, I brought some wires and a spring-based mechanism. It's an old technique, but it works. If you put a wire and somebody trips it, you'll know someone is there with you. I set the mechanism by the main entrance behind a potted plant and put the wire up where I could watch it. It's a shame I didn't have 3 of them, but hey, you still haven't installed locks on the other 2, so I had to make do with what I had on hand. You might not know this, Harry, but even though we try our best, we're also susceptible to fear. You don't know this because you only see this place during the day, but when it gets dark, it's a whole new world in here. These dead things look at you from behind the glass. They're stuffed and painted, but you know all the same, they used to be alive. And now they're living in foreshortened landscapes, and all the while their flesh is rotting away. Try looking at them when it's dark and there's rain pouring down, tapping on the roof, and maybe you'll get a good idea of how it is here every night for me. Add to this debilitating atmosphere the thought that at any moment an armed criminal could jump on you from behind, and you're looking at a pretty tall order, especially in a building this big, with only 3 people to stand watch over it. It was about 10 when the wire moved. I look at the main entrance and nobody is there. I know that this is impossible, that the mechanism is purely physical and wouldn't move unless somebody had moved it by will. I stand up, move towards the heron. This is the part Marquez saw on the tape. My feet feel like lead. Whether it's because I'm scared of the bird or I'm scared someone will take it is insignificant, really. The fact is that the wire has moved and nobody moved it. So I get up and walk toward the case, and sure enough, the heron is out again, and the glass is staring at me, blank and unbroken, and the emptiness of the area is really starting to get to me. I'm sweating bullets by now. knowing that the thing could be in here with me. Not only in here, but out of its case. I turn around, and it swoops right by me. Its wing gets real close to my face. And at this point, I fire a load of bullets. 3, I think. The thing keeps flying at me. It goes back, and then it comes right toward my face, making this horrible sound. Its talons ready to pull my hair out. I shoot it again, twice. It falls to the floor and twitches as it lies there. At this point, I notice that one of the first 3 shots broke the heron's case. Other 2 got lodged in the ceiling. That's the point where I leave the thing on the ground where it is and go get Neil. That's how it happened, Harry. Verbatim. I shot the fucking thing. It attacked me. When Neil and I got back to the exhibit, it was back in the case. Probably walked back and sat on the goddamn perch all by itself. If you don't believe me, then I'm sorry, but it's my job to report what goes on to you, so you better fucking believe it. I can tell Neil doesn't believe me. The smug bastard is back there chewing his fingernails. But something is very wrong with this bird. Its eyes are full of malice. It makes my shift an unsafe work environment. There are no criminals, Harry. Just a possessed, dead thing that wants to kill me. Please get rid of it. Please. Deborah. She's lying through her teeth, Harry. I tell you, as a trusted and long-term employee, I can tell when someone is lying. You know how many people I've busted trying to sneak merchandise out of the gift shop. The bitch just walked outside to clear her head. Harry, how do we know that's not just an excuse? She could be in league with the criminals right now. I'm not going to fucking call you, Harry. If you want me to pull her away, tell her to leave and never come back here. I can do it. Just tell me what you want, and I'll do it. I know she's lying because of one simple fact. Before she came down to get me, I heard no gunshots. None. Entire place as silent as a tomb. Now, if I had heard shots, I would have immediately rushed upstairs to check things out and get myself in the action. Your office where Marquez was is soundproofed, and besides that, he probably had headphones on, but I had none. 1 minute, everything was quiet, and the next minute she's running down the stairs towards me, screaming her head off, a big emotional mess, and I was at the juice bar. I haven't even seen her gun yet. She probably won't let me look at the evidence because she's guilty as sin and knows it. But if I did, I know what I would find. 6 bullets, and not a single one fired. This is because there is no possessed bird. It's all in her head, Harry. The woman isn't right in the head. Anybody can see this from a mile away. Her eyes are crazy. She gives me the fucking creeps. Insane. What I say happened is she had a panic attack, went schizo mode. She broke the glass with her bare hands, and now she's making this story up about the bird to cover herself. The glass is thin enough to break with your hand, or she could have pulled her gun out. I probably wouldn't have heard that all the way downstairs. But you can bet your ass I would have heard gunshots, Harry. There weren't any. She's insane. That's all there is to it. Neil. There will be no need to check her gun, Neil. I've dialed the sheriff's office up, and they should be there in a few minutes. I'm driving there myself, and I should be there by 4. Hopefully, we can get this all under control before we open. I believe you, Neil. Deborah is a danger to herself, and we shouldn't have trusted her. The police will be combing the woods for her. She's probably escaped, and within a week, posters of her will be up. The sheriff told me that she's a repeat offender, that she's been known to take antipsychotics under the table. I wish we had vetted her background a little bit more, but everyone makes mistakes. Right now, Neil, go upstairs and watch the wildlife hall. Stay there until the police arrive. Thank you for bearing with all this. I know it's been hard for you, Harry. We're almost at the end here. I drink a little bit more water. Wednesday, January 20th. I hope everyone enjoyed their day off. I think that the events on Monday night, Take that again. I hope everyone enjoyed their day off. I think after the events of Monday night, we all needed a little breather. Me and the rest of the board also took the day off. They've all been informed of what happened, and we're a bit shaken, to say the least. The public will wonder why we were closed yesterday. If they had seen what I saw, they'd understand and sympathize. We've all been through so much. Sheriff Carter still has no explanation for exactly what went on, but he chalks it up to suicide. After Deborah said she needed to go outside, she went back upstairs, scooped up the heron, which was contributing to her delusions, locked herself in the bathroom stall, and systematically used the bird's beak and claws to disfigure her face. In the official police report, her cause of death has been put up as blood loss. Seeing her lying like that, as the last few ounces of her face and her eyes were both ruptured, she was holding the heron in one hand and staring at me as if something was wrong. When Carter was out of the room, she beckoned me forward. She whispered into my ear, "It happened." And then she was out like a light. The burial will be this Friday, if either of you would like to come. I know her death is tragic, and rationally, as a sane man, I need to accept that she was insane. Still, in the back of my head, I think about that bird. Think that if it were alive, and if there was something evil in it, not just the spirit of a bird, but something genuinely evil, that it could do what I had seen in the bathroom. It would be full of such violent rage that it could rip chunks of flesh with its beak, sinew from sinew with those talons. The heron was still, as it always has been, but dear God, something about it didn't sit right with me. I'm not one given to philosophy or spiritual matters, though, and they would never put that in the police report. If either of you were wondering, I spent my day off in the park, looking at the clouds. I saw some birds take off from the swamp, migrate under the sunset. And after that, I wanted to leave because it was getting to be dark. I may never look at wetland fowl the same way again. I know her story is inaccurate. I know that. But I won't be visiting the wildlife hall anytime soon. And if I do, I definitely won't be looking at that heron. If I do, I have this fantasy about getting to be as mad as her, falling into those glossy pupils. The thing may have the blood cleaned off, but all the same, I still won't be able to remove the image of her cold hand clutching it by its feet, gripping onto them like she was in a mortal struggle, knuckles in a rictus phase. I can't ever put that out of my head. Is that irrational? I guess it is. I guess in some ways, everyone is a little irrational. I wish you all the best of luck. Harry. And that is Heron Observations on the Hypnagogic Archive. If I do this type of stream again, maybe I'll read you guys some more stories. There are some really, really good ones on that website that is hard to look at website, purposefully eye-strainy. I did have some other things prepared, but we are getting close to the end of the allotted time I have for stream. I do need a little bit of time to eat and get ready for the stream I'll be doing over on Jazz's channel today. So I'm actually going to call it there. So let's go ahead and head back to the club. Oh, why is that up? No, what? Get out of here. Trying to panic so quietly. All right. Thank you guys for coming to Baby's first ASMR stream. Tomorrow, don't Don't look at the schedule. Don't look at it. It's lying to you. We're playing Marvel Rivals tomorrow because that is literally all I'm going to want to do or think about. I'm so excited. It's Gambit Day tomorrow. And I have to keep calm right now. But oh boy, I'm about to make a name for myself playing Gambit. I'm very excited. They're also fixing Loki. We are so back. We have never been so back. So I hope to see you guys for that stream tomorrow, where I will be talking at a normal, perhaps even louder cadence than this. As far as a raid goes, let's see who we got going. Trying to look for something that's kind of chill. Let's send you guys over to Peachy Pill, who just barely started streaming and is doing some art. That's a good vibe. All right, everyone. Again, thank you so much for coming. I am not going to have Eddie meow at you right now because it would be so loud. So I will just say thank you so much for being here today. I hope you had a wonderful time. Hope to see you at tomorrow's stream. If not, I was happy to see you today. And until we meet again, Oyasumi.